Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday evening update on Hurricane Laura. We've got a lot to talk about here, so let's get right into it. So Laura is here, obviously. You can see the core has become much better organized today, and you can see curling bands of very deep convection. This is about an hour old now, as the sun has gone down since as of the recording of this video, and we can really see, if you look even at the infrared imagery here, the very intense convection here that is firing around a core band here that has begun to form. And so we really have a tighter and much better organized storm today, and it is going to be able to intensify much quicker, as suggested by not only satellite but also recon, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits here. We just had, I'm going to actually refresh this here, just had a couple of passes here on the recon, and they said this is around 983 millibars, and the recon missed the center the second time and found around 979 millibars here, or 980, 979 here, very close to the center here. Probably that is an accurate estimate there. So within the course of about an hour and a half, we dropped 3 millibars here, or 3 to 4 millibars here, as this trekked northwestward. A couple of things noted with Laura's structure is that it is now much more symmetrical. You can see clearly the storm earlier today was more lopsided to the north or to the south, and now that is no longer the case. You have a much more circular storm and a banding structure that has gone and curled into what is now likely a very close to completing eye wall here. And we have a rapidly organizing storm and a rapidly intensifying storm now. Recon confirming that. And one thing, if we look back at recon here, we have a large area to the northeast of the center here that has very strong winds, and this is promoting very strong onshore flow as this storm comes ashore. And if we look at the perspective view that I have here, as this comes up somewhere in this region, you have a large swath of wind that is well away from the center here that is going to be pushing water onshore. And we have even more wind to the immediate north or to the further north of the system that may already be causing some water rises along the Louisiana Gulf Coast as this comes ashore here, and these water rises are likely ongoing and will likely increase as the storm gets closer to landfall here. Now, where exactly is this going to be making landfall, you ask? Well, there are a couple dictating features here. If we look at the water vapor image, where you have the trough immediately to the north or to the northwest of the system, that is going to create an edge of sorts to the mid-level ridge that has been guiding the system, that is centered around here and has been guiding the system to the west. So you have the trough here, so it's not gonna immediately go, it's not gonna go all the way over here anymore. That has been taken out of the equation. It is more likely now that somewhere in between Galveston and Cameron Parish, Louisiana, is more likely right now in terms of landfall for the system. Now, exactly where this makes landfall, we can't really, get it down to the exact point, so to speak, of the storm, of where it should be making landfall here. There's not an exact forecast that we can really make right now. And that is due to, the normal uncertainty that we have when we have a storm that is still 24 hours out from making landfall. If we look at the 3-day cone here, they depict a very similar thing here. The cone of uncertainty stretches from Galveston all the way to eastern Cameron Parish here in southwestern Louisiana. So there's time for maybe Laura to deviate and turn a little later here and come closer to Galveston and Houston. But the possibility of this still hitting Galveston and Houston is there, just as much as it is still possible that this goes further to the east and hits southwestern Louisiana here. And one of the key reasons that this correction to the west happened last night, because if you remember, the original National Hurricane Center forecast track had this a little bit further to the east, and now that has shifted to the west here near the Texas-Louisiana border, was the EPS ensemble mean. This is the 18Z ensemble mean here, which was yesterday much more spread out than it is today, and had landfalls even as far south as the Matagorda Bay region here, and was far west of the National Hurricane Center forecast track. And now we have a much more honed in ensemble mean here, somewhere in between, just to the east of Port Arthur, all the way west to the Galveston, Houston area, potentially south into Freeport here, as these have now corrected a little bit to the east and have narrowed down as landfall is coming closer here. So, it's really difficult to depict where exactly this is going to make landfall. If we go back to the IR imagery, it's going to be a very tight rope here for Houston. You have any wobble to the west or any wobble to the east here is very crucial. We have to watch this as this comes up and over the next 24 hours here, because this is going to be making landfall Wednesday night into Thursday morning here, somewhere around that. And we have to watch where exactly this impacts. But regardless, you can see the storm is pretty large here, and impacts will be well removed from the center here. And the storm will likely be impacting a large area. To demonstrate this, I'm going to use the tropical storm force wind percentages here, and we have, a very large percentage gradient all the way from Matagorda Bay all the way into, New Orleans here even as this comes up. And so this stretch of coast, really from, extreme western Mississippi all the way to the central Texas coastline, needs to be preparing for adverse weather here. This is the event. We're getting into the event now. This is it. And, in terms of intensity, it's kind of hard to really pin it down here, because it is currently, if we look at the rapid or the infrared here, this is likely undergoing rapid strengthening, and this is confirmed by the pretty crazy pressure drops that we're getting here in the recon from 984, 983 to 979 to 980 here, which is a 3 millibar drop in an hour and a half, which is it's very significant and is around 2 millibars per hour, and means that the storm is undergoing rapid intensification here. And even now, as I'm seeing this new recon pass, you can see hurricane force winds now extend to the southern side of the hurricane. And so now this is a much more symmetrical storm than what we were dealing with earlier in the day, where it was much more lopsided here. And so this is likely poised tonight to rapidly strengthen, and we may be waking up to something that is much stronger than what we are looking at present, because right now this is only a Category 1 hurricane. Do not let that fool you. We have talked about this for days here, how it is very likely that this could rapidly strengthen here. And if we look at the water vapor imagery, we have outflow channels expanding now to the north of the hurricane, as well as to the south. And this is very indicative of a very favorable upper level environment as this approaches the coast, and this will really not abate too much here. And so, unfortunately, this is looking like it will likely be strengthening all the way up until landfall somewhere on the upper Texas coast, all the way to southwestern Louisiana, wherever that may be. So if you are in the regions that are, just outside of where the center track may be, say Houston or the Galveston area, and even northwest of Houston here, or if you are, to the east of the center track here, you need to be preparing for something that may be very powerful heading over your area. You need to be preparing for what the worst could be here, which may be a high-end Category 3, low-end Category 4 here, as some intensity models suggest. And the European model at 18Z had a very provocative run that took the storm all the way down to 933 millibars, which is attained by only extremely powerful hurricanes here. So you need to be preparing, and these preparations need to be rushed to completion. And if you have a mandatory evacuation order in your surge zone and your flood zone, please heed it. If we look at the peak surge graphic here, you can tell that a large swath of the coast is expected to see 7+ feet of surge here, all the way from Morgan City to Sea Rim State Park here. And again, if the track shifts west again, you can expect similar readings or similar levels of inundation that are currently expected along the southwestern Louisiana coast to be extended over to the Galveston area and Port Bolivar and further to the west, maybe. If that does indeed happen, you need to be out. You need to be out of these barrier islands. You need to be out of these marshlands and these wetlands here. The surge will go well inland, especially in southwestern Louisiana, and you can see even disruptive water rises all the way to Ocean Springs, Mississippi here, which is, very far to the east of the actual track, and we discussed why that is the case because of the large wind field to the north. So, if you are in these areas, you need to be prepared. And if you are under a hurricane warning or watch or tropical storm warning or watch, you need to be prepared for what may be very adverse weather and possible power outages and damage here. So please be prepared along the coast. I'll have another update video tomorrow afternoon. That's all. Thanks for watching.